Welcome to the Sunday morning worship service of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church in Naperville, Illinois. I am Ann Ariano, a member of your Board of Trustees. We are so glad you are here, whether you are present here in the sanctuary this morning or watching remotely. It is so good to be together. We welcome you to our church and invite you to get to know us better after the service. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another on our spiritual and religious journeys while holding ourselves in covenant through our shared 7 principles. The mission of DuPage UU Church is to gather as an inclusive community to grow in character, mind, and spirit, and to transform the world toward fairness, love, and compassion. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, wherever you are in the world, you are welcome here. We have a couple of announcements. The educational question and answer sessions reviewing the subjects that you will be asked to vote on at the June 4 annual meeting continue. Earlier today, there was a budget forum, and then today after the service, in the Learning Center, there will be a review of edits to the bylaws. And on Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock by Zoom, you can learn more about the proposed budget again and the proposal to cover the budget deficit. If you can't attend the forums, check the Thursday weeklies and the church website's annual meeting page right up at the top to find information about everything related to the June 4 meeting, including links to details about the budget and bylaws, as well as the slate of candidates and their bios for election to the board and nominating committees. And one more announcement. This past fall, you asked for opportunities to grow in connection to each other. Reverend Mandy and Steve are working to launch a small group ministry opportunity called Chalice Circles. They are looking for facilitators for these circles, members who are willing to lead a small group once per month. An email was sent last week, and another will be sent again next Wednesday. Please check out the emails for more information and to sign up. And now, if you are online, please greet each other in chat. And everyone here, please turn to someone you did not come with and wave and say good morning.
I light this chalice today for a second Unitarian Universalist principle. We believe in justice, equity, and compassion in human relations.
Good morning. I am Steve Cooper, the Director of Religious Education at this church. The Unitarian Universalist Flower Service, which we are about to celebrate, was originated 100 years ago in 1923 by Dr. Norbert Čapek, founder of the modern Unitarian movement in Czechoslovakia. Before World War II, in the city of Prague, Czechoslovakia, there was a plain and simple Unitarian church with a minister named Norman Čapek. During the spring, he went for a stroll, and the rains had come, the birds were singing, and the flowers were blooming all over the land. The world was beautiful. An idea came to him, and the next Sunday he asked all the people of the church to bring a flower or a budding branch or even a twig. And so, on the next Sunday, the people came with flowers of all different colors and sizes and kinds. There were yellow daisies and red roses. There were white lilies and blue asters, dark-eyed pansies and light green leaves. Pink and purple, orange and gold. There were all those colors and more. Flowers filled all the vases, and the church wasn't so plain and simple anymore. And Minister Čapek spoke to the people while they listened, sitting quiet and still in their hard wooden chairs. These flowers are like ourselves, he said. Different colors, different shapes, and different sizes, each needing different kinds of care, but each beautiful, each important and special, and in its own way. When he was done speaking, each person chose a different flower from the vases before they went home. Today we're going to hear several versions of this story, because over 100 years, there's always many versions of a story. But before we get into our opening hymn, I will need some young helpers to follow me to the rear of the sanctuary to carry in the flowers. Please stand in body or spirit and join in singing song number 78, Color and Fragrance, a hymn written by Dr. Čapek.
Changing music will change us with them. Life within life. come together to affirm our relationship with one another, our shared commitment to our Unitarian Universalist principles, and to our DuPage UU church community. We recognize our agency and our connective power, and we accept responsibility to be bold and courageous in relationship with each other so that we might transform ourselves and the world.
Our vision of beloved community is rooted in the relationship we have with each other, our world, and creation. Each week we share our joys and concerns. Usually we would thank the person that brought the flowers today, but we'll thank all of you for bringing flowers. Also, Rosa Campos would like to wish her husband, Jeremy Lime, a happy birthday today, and they are watching online. Even when the cares of the world weigh on us, may we find joy in our connections with each other and in the pleasures that life holds. Let us care for one another and for ourselves in all the ways we can. As we hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows, whether spoken or unspoken, please join together in a moment of meditative prayer. This is a meditation on Flower Communion Sunday by William Rice, adapted from Flower Sunday in 1969. On a day such as this, may a great change come upon us. The sounds we have been hearing have been discordant. The sights we have been seeing have been violent. The words we have been reading have been hateful. All this has been wearying, discouraging, and distracting. In our hearts, we had a dream of love, and in our minds, we had a pattern of community. But this has been a sorry season of discontent, most difficult for visions. Today is a new day, truly an hour for hope and joy and gladness. Let us be thankful for the persistence of flowers and open ourselves to their long wisdom. Often they grow in spite of terrible winters and miserable summers. Strange beauty greets us in unexpected places, as if there is a particular grace that is stronger than our carelessness and indifference. But when we tend our gardens with love and care, the reward can be greater than the effort. It is most wise to combine flowers and children in a day of celebration, for flowers and children ever speak to us of wonders and glories yet to be, of hopes fulfilled if we tend our gardens and our homes with patience and wisdom and love. Let us be silent together.
My Sister of the White Flowers by Alice Walker. Every turn around the sun, every year on the date of my birth, no matter where I am, and usually it is the same place, wherever I can worship in sunshine, my gracious sister of the white flowers finds me. I look up from whatever wonder is holding me fast, and there is someone at my gate. They are holding a bouquet of white flowers, calla lilies, Frida's lilies as I think of them. It has been years since I saw my sister of the white flowers, and yet, oddly, in the vast world, she appears to be everywhere and at all times. But in my heart, she is always where last I saw her, down to earth, sounding like sister, sounding like mother, sounding like home. I thank you, sister of the white flowers. You have ascended like a star, and few have missed your glow. We marvel seeing you. We think, what grace and relentless energy the ancestors passed to us. You were so vast in scope, and yet here is something quiet, small, at my gate, fiercely grand in its own way, your faithful offering. You are my sister, beloved, and sacred to me, my sister of the white flowers. Wherever you may be, imagine your sister here, happily in solitude, loving you deeply, knowing our connection is eternal, deeply bowing, though no one may observe me, bowing, smiling recognition, savoring my joy.
One day, two little girls stood side by side looking at the garden, which was in full bloom. "Isn't it pretty?" said the first little girl, "with all the different colors?" "I don't see color," said the second little girl, for this is what her parents had taught her to say. This started up quite a conversation amongst the flowers, who spoke their own quiet language to each other. "That makes me want to cry," said the bleeding heart, who is full of feeling on the best of days. "You always want to cry," said the iris, who is always self-possessed, never shedding petals here and there like the apple blossoms which grew above her. "But it's so sad," said the bleeding heart repeated, "not to see color." "Don't worry," said the flag, upright and direct as always. "They're just pretending anyway when they say that." "But why would they pretend such a thing?" asked the peony indignantly. "It would be such a shame not to see my beautiful magenta layers." And of all the flowers in the garden, she was the most showy. "Because they were taught the wrong thing about this country when they got here," said the flag, who often spoke about the country's founding. "They were told this place was a melting pot, that everyone should become the same." The sweetgrass, who had been here long before, swayed gently in the breeze and added, "They didn't understand that this land is a garden, that we each add beauty with our own different colors and shapes and sizes." "Well, I certainly do," said the peony, ever confident. "They forget," said the lupine, "that we bloom in our own way and in different seasons to make the world more beautiful." "But will they remember?" asked the nervous forget-me-not, always preoccupied with the questions of legacy. "That's why we're here," remarked the daisy, who, though humble, knew the power of a simple gesture, having once been placed into the barrel of a gun to proclaim peace. "That's why we're here, to remind them." Giving our treasure is how we reciprocate the many gifts we are given by this community. Your contribution supports the programs and operations of DuPage UU Church. Giving is also how we live our values in the world. Each month, we share our offerings with an organization nominated by the congregation and selected by the special offering team. And I would like to have Bridget Coleman come up to speak about this month's special offering.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bridget Coleman, and I am a member of this church. And I was the person that nominated this month's recipient of the special collection, the Unsinkable program, which is hosted by the B.R. Rial YMCA in Glen Ellen. This is a program that is really close to my heart, and I am very grateful for your support. Because I cry every time I talk about it, I'm instead going to show you a video. Spoiler alert, I cry in the video. I think I have a little bleeding heart in me, maybe, like the flower. But thank you, thank you, thank you. So we started the Unsinkable program a few years ago. We are a foster family, and we learned right away with the first placement that we had that maybe some of the kids that we placed in our home wouldn't really understand how to swim, how to be safe around the water. Our first placement was a little girl who was 5-6 years old, and the first time that we had her near a pool, she didn't understand that she couldn't walk on the surface, that it wasn't a hard surface. She just walked right onto the water in the deep end and went straight down. And we thought, oh gosh, we have some work to do. Because our kids love to swim, we thought, well, this might be a way that we can contribute is while kids are in our home, we can help them learn how to be safe around the water, help them learn how to swim. So we started signing our foster kids up for swim lessons. We reached out to the Y to see if there was any kind of a program that would help us financially with that, because they were foster kids and we learned that there wasn't. And we were able to afford the lessons for them, but we thought, boy, there's probably a bunch of families that are foster families that could also be doing this if they had a little bit of assistance, and maybe we could provide that assistance. We have a 15-year-old daughter now named Gabby, who we have adopted through the foster care system, and she was also an unsinkable kid who didn't know how to swim when she was placed in our home. And she just finished her first year on the JV swim team at the high school, had never been in a swim meet in her life, and made enough progress that she could be in a high school sport. And I think she'll swim all 4 years for her school. We have some videos of her like up on the starting block and like jumping off and like
falling off.
So scared, and doing the penguin jumps, and she didn't know what she was doing, but she liked it and she was proud of herself, and she kept hearing from the instructors, "You're a natural at this. Wow, look at your form." And it felt like something that she was good at to her, and she hadn't ever had anything like that before, and now she identifies as a swimmer.
Yeah, and that's the difference between, like, some kids come in and they learn water safety, which by itself is a great result. Other kids come in like Gabby and figure out that they have a talent for something that they might not have ever known was there.
Lots of foster kids have not grown up around water. They haven't had an opportunity to take swim lessons. They maybe don't know anything about how to behave around a pool. We feel like that is a really important life skill for them to learn how to stay safe, responsible decision-making around the water. We feel like the Y takes that really seriously.
Sometimes it's an access issue, so we see that kids don't have resources to take swim lessons or don't have a membership to a pool where they can go and swim around. Sometimes, though, we also see that it's a learned trait that mom and dad maybe didn't learn to swim. Not only do they not teach their kids to swim, but they do the opposite and teach the kids that's somewhere to stay away from. So this breaks that cycle a little bit, and it gives them, if nothing else, it gives them a feeling of safety in the water. And then that's where they start to build self-esteem, independence, fitness, and all the other things that come with knowing how to swim.
We definitely wouldn't have started Unsinkable without the why, because where would we have it? We don't have a pool. We would have thought, oh, this is a need that the community has. These foster kids need to learn how to swim. But where would we have done it? We couldn't have done it on our own. We just had a little tiny kernel of an idea, and you made it possible.
The Y's mission aligns perfectly with our program, that the Y is here to support health, well-being of the community, and to serve the community. And this is an act of service. Our program is an act of service, and they fit in beautifully together.
The offering is given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude.
Al respirar, respiro paz. Al exhalar, exhalo amor. When Al respirar, respiro paz. Al exhalar, exhalo amor. 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 Al respirar, respiro paz. Al exhalar, exhalo amor.
The Hummingbird and the Flower by Joshua Berg. Only the 90-degree angled bill of the rare white-tipped sickle-bill hummingbird of Costa Rica fits perfectly into the long, drooping, brightly colored, flowering bloom of the Heliconia ramonensis flower. No other hummingbird can successfully drink from its nectar. Did the flower evolve to fit the bird? Did the bird evolve to fit the flower? Or did they mutually evolve to fit one another? Today, we engage in a ritual of exchanging flowers that was imagined and first celebrated 100 years ago by Norbert Chapek and spread throughout the world, including to the United States, by Maya Chapek, his wife. Chapek chose flowers because he considered the flower divine. He wrote that the flower symbolizes each of us, every individual just as uniquely beautiful as every other. To Chapek, flowers also represented community. The flower ceremony demonstrates this idea that although we can select a flower or flowers, a person or a community of affiliation, we also give back to the greater bouquet. And what's more, collectively, we do not reject any flower within the greater community of communities bouquet. Rather, there must be respect, admiration, and indeed love for each and every flower, just as passionately. Chapek also maintained that the symbols and rituals like the ones we are undertaking today are alive. They grow and change and must regularly be revisited with a heart to serve the greater divine love. That has been the case as Unitarianism and Unitarian Universalism remain in the process of evolution and transformation. The idea of community, for instance, represented for Chapek in the bouquet itself, is reimagined today more as the symbiotic relationship, such as that of a flower and a pollinator. The relationship models a love that is interdependent, equitable, and generous. The flowers need the animal or the insect as much as they need the flower, and they accommodate each other perfectly, taking only what is needed just as freely as they give unselfishly that the other lives. None of us can exist without the other. We may not depend exclusively on a single soul, as do the hummingbird and the flower, but there is no doubt that we would fall were we to not recognize our interdependence with our actions in community, and that includes interdependence between every person, every living thing, and nature itself. This unconditional and necessary give and take is the pluralistic and justice-oriented love, without which we do not survive, let alone thrive. Continuing this tradition today of exchanging flowers that began 100 years ago is the acknowledgement that we mutually evolved and continue to evolve to fit each other. It is an acknowledgement that we are not only the flowers that provide the nectar, but also the pollinators who return the love. Please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing Hymn 21 for the beauty of the earth.
Source of all to
It smells lovely up here. Flowers, flowers, flowers. Thank you all who brought a flower today, whether from your garden or from the store or the roadside or who knows where, or your neighbor's yard. One of Unitarian Universalism's unique rituals was created in 1923. It was developed by Norbert and Maya Čapek, Czechoslovakian Unitarian ministers. Norbert was born in Czechoslovakia and was ordained a Baptist minister. He later left the ministry and came to the United States, where he served in the U.S. Army intelligence during the First World War. Maya Aktivek, who became Norbert's wife, was also born in Czechoslovakia and attended Catholic schools there. And growing up, Maya just wasn't comfortable with the Catholic Church, in the same way that many of us weren't comfortable with our formal faiths, whatever they were. Catholicism just didn't fit her. And when she had traveled to the U.S. and met Norbert in New York City, at her suggestion, they became Unitarians. They developed a connection with the American Unitarian Association, the precursor to the UUA. The Čapeks returned to Czechoslovakia and founded a Unitarian church. In fact, their church in Prague was the largest Unitarian congregation in the world at one time. Maya was soon ordained a Unitarian minister. Maya and Norbert wanted to create a new ceremony that could bring people closer together and to make them feel like a religious community. They fashioned what they called the Flower Festival, and it was first celebrated 100 years ago. They originally named it a festival, not a communion, so as not to offend folk with diverse religious backgrounds who might come, either from within their congregation or from the outside world. While we often call the service Flower Communion, they were careful to welcome all by calling it the Flower Festival. They didn't want to make those who were previously or even currently Jews, Catholics, or agnostics uncomfortable. In this way, the Flower Festival honors the diversity found in our faith communities. Each of us comes here, each unique, each with a different view, looking for different things, exploring different paths. And here we find community. Here we find other seekers to share the journey. And we listen, learn, and laugh with each other. And we gather together affirming that while we may each be seeking our own truth, it helps to have others to learn and share with us. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm that we are interconnected, that we need each other. In 1939, Maya Čapek came back to the United States to preach and raise money for their church. And at that time, she introduced the Flower Festival to American Unitarian congregations, and we quickly made it our own. While she was here in the U.S., World War II broke out, and Maya was unable to return to Norbert, who remained in Czechoslovakia. And he continued to preach liberal religious ideas, and the Nazi Gestapo eventually sent him to Dachau concentration camp, where he was executed. But while in the camp, Dr. Čapek's courage in the face of torture and starvation was a source of inspiration to his fellow prisoners, and he led the prisoners in worship using the Flower Festival ceremony. Meanwhile, Maya decided to remain in the United States, working to help international relief efforts after the war. She later died in 1956. Whenever either minister conducted the flower festival, they would bless or consecrate the flowers with these words: Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts to be one in desire, affection, and devotion to thy holy will. May they remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in this world. So today we share in the flower service, and we will practice giving in what may be a new way for some of us. In doing so, we are extending the spirit of the original flower service. Each of us will choose a flower and give it to the person next to them. You are giving away that flower that spoke to you, so you chose it. So we're now going to start the flower communion part of the service. There are enough flowers here for everyone, whether you brought a flower today or not. So please come forward, row by row, forming two lines. Laura and I will start by selecting a flower and giving it to the first two people in line. Those two people will then pick a flower and turn around and hand it to the person behind them. And this will continue until the end, until the last two people will pick flowers to give to Laura and myself, finishing the circle.
invite you to stand as you're willing and able and join us in hymn number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me.
We are one, we are free, we are here. Much has changed in the 100 years since the first flower ceremony, but our commitment to the values it embodies grows ever stronger as we continue to shape a faith that fiercely and gently calls forth beauty and kinship in easy times and times of heart-rending challenge. As we Unitarian Universalists work to dismantle our culture of oppression and exclusion, learn to truly embrace our multiplicity of cultural worldviews, and shift our historical center to follow powerful new leadership by those whose voices have been suppressed for far too long, we make real the bold vision of Norbert and Maya Chapek and the flower ceremony. Their spirit of courage and commitment live on in us. May we ever remember our continuity with those who struggled generation after generation for peace and justice and liberty. As we share our flowers, may we always remember the abiding beauty that calls us together and calls us to ever greater justice and ever greater love.
please join me in the words we say to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish the light of this chalice, but not the light in our hearts. Until we meet again, may the warmth of our community carry you.